We have 25, so give me a few more minutes to wait your classmate a little bit, okay? Yeah.
Hello, since we are waiting for them, I just want to clarify that the number of students that you have added into this class is exceed the list that I got from the school.
Uh, Sorry, I'm not quite understand. Yeah, we have the list from the universities, and then what was happening?
There are some students that are actually not in our class.
Ah, okay, okay, okay. The two learner that you sent to me last time, correct?
Um, I'm not I'm not sure whether I've sent the list to you or not, but I'll can I send the latest update list to you by tomorrow?
Okay, okay. Obviously. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so in that case you can remove those who are not in our class, right?
Right, 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 right. Of
Thank you.
course. Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, I think we may start now then. Yeah. Maybe another few more minutes. Hello, hello.
Yes, sure.
Yes.
Very good. Thanks. Do you have any question from previous sessions from last week? I believe that last week we have finished with the some part of the demand and supply, and also we went through the equilibrium also. Any other concern about those kind of modules before we move to the price control modules? We've been through the price control a little bit, but not yet fully finished. Yeah.
Teacher, I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Could you explain the income elasticity or demand again?
Income elasticities. Okay, okay. That's all right. And any other beside that? Anything beside that? The income elasticity. Okay, let me share you my screen then, and then we can work on this. Can you see my screens? Can you see my screens? Hello.
Not yet, sir. Not yet.
Not yet.
Yes, sir. Sir, is it possible if you just add the
Oh, yes, yes. Okay, okay. Sorry, I forgot. Let me open the Microsoft Word.
yes, sir.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, like, can we just add the app than the whiteboard, because I think the whiteboard is slow to synchronize. So sometimes you explain and we did not see anything at all.
Can you just give me the idea what kind of app that I can use
I
beside
think
this?
we can use like a PowerPoint for that, sir.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I have PowerPoint, but it's hardly for me to write. So I will share you the Microsoft Word then. It's gonna be all right. Give me a second.
Yes, sir.
Can you see my Microsoft Word here?
Yes, sir. We can see now, sir.
Very good, very good. Thanks. Like I discussed to you earlier, we need to determine there are several determinations which can shift the demand curve, right? You remember that? The first one is the income, consumer income. Second one is the consumer, consumer expectations. Third one is the consumer preference. Census or test. Oh no, not test like this. No, this test. And the third one is the price of related goods. And lastly is the numbers of buyers or consumer. Okay, so these are the determinants or determinations. Yeah, you can call it determinants. That is another term. Yeah, that can shift the supply. That can shift the demand curve. Okay. And then if we discuss for the income elasticity here, okay, meaning to say that these we need to understand whether the good is not more good or inferior goods. Okay, in order to understand whether the good is not more good or inferior good, we need to calculate the income elasticity of demands. Okay. And the income elasticity of demand is equals to the percentage change in. Okay, right, the percentage. Okay, percentage change in quantity demanded. Quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in income, okay, consumer incomes. And then the result will tell you whether the good is not more good or the good is the inferior good. As I remember correctly, if that is below, if that is positive, and that is in the range from 0 to 1, that is called the necessity good. If that is higher than 1, that is the normal good. If that is the large numbers of the income elasticity of demand, that is called the luxurious good. However, if the result is the negative less than 1, that is the inferior good. Okay. So these are the meaning of those kind of things that I discussed to you last time. Am I answering to your questions?
Yes, you're loud and clear.
Very good, thanks. Very good, thanks. Any others? Any others? Okay. Seems there is no further clarification needed, so we move to the price and quantity controls. We've been through some already, but not yet finished all, so I may continue this right now. So last time we have discussed with a little bit about the price ceiling, I believed, and then I also I gave you one example of the gasoline market, yes, in the US, right? So this one is the price ceiling. Okay, price and quantity control, it could be done. They could be done by the government because the government has the privileged authority to control those kind of things. Okay, and then normally the price control, they use the price ceiling and the price floor in order to improve the economic outcomes when it's become the when the market become the failure. Did I talk to you about the market failure last time?
Yes, lecturer.
Very good, thanks. So when the market failure exists, the government interventions could improve the economic outcomes, okay? And some of the control intervention here, the government imposed the price ceiling and the price floor in the different circumstances. And that is the meaning of the price ceiling, which refers to a legal maximums on the price of goods or services. Example, the rent control, and we also have the price floor. That is a legal minimum on the price of the goods and services. Okay, is that example the minimum wage? I think you also can see in the graph here, okay, how price ceiling affect the outcome of the market for brands. This one is an example for you. This one you already learned that the demand curve here and the supply curve is here, and then we can have the price equilibrium is $1 and the quantity equilibrium is this amount. Okay, and normally the price ceiling, like I discussed to you earlier, it normally set higher or about the set below, it's set below the price equilibrium. If that is set is about here, there is no bindings. Okay, so let make it clear again, don't confuse. The price ceiling normally has been set below the price equilibrium. When it's set higher than the price equilibrium, there will be nothing happen in the market. Why there is nothing happen in the market? Because the market forces, I remember that I talked to you about the market forces in the supply and demand already. So the market forces will push to the equilibrium again. Okay, if that is not the if that is not the if there is not about the below the price equilibrium. Does it make sense to you? Here is the legal the legal maximum price. Okay, for example, people sell it at $2. Sorry, the government set at $2, and then what happened was that what happened was that the seller will try to sell below the price ceiling, because there's still possibility to sell it below that, right? Right. And then we come to the equilibrium again. But if the government imposed the price ceiling here, meaning to say that price ceiling is below the price equilibrium here, and then you will observe some effect on this. And the effect here, normally it is the shortage in the markets, okay? And there's also the impact that I discussed to you during last week. We look at the market, the gasoline market, okay? Yeah. So that is the example for you, okay? So this one, if you set it below here, you will realize the shortage here, okay? Is that clear enough for you now? Any concerns? No? This one is binding, okay? There will be some constraint in the market, so the market will have these ones. If you would like to see another example of the price ceiling here, you also can look at to the rent control. There is one example already. Rent control meaning to say that in order to rent control contact here. Normally, people referring to the courts of renting rooms in the city, okay, in order to make people having a chance to rent the room in the city. That's why the government imposed those kind of thing. But the impact still the same. Yeah? It is not equilibrium. That is the temporary disequilibrium happens. And another example that you may look at also is the interest rate ceiling. Those interest rate ceiling is also considered as the price ceiling. If you look at the Cambodia context, in the last few years, the central bank, the National Bank of Cambodia, imposed the maximum interest rate that the banking and financial institutions can charge. Okay. You realize about those kind of things? Did you know that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very good things. The central bank imposed the maximum interest rate is 18% annually per annum. So no financial institutions can charge the interest rate higher, those kind of things. The 18%. So what happened during that time was that that is called credit crunch. It's quite similar thing to the shortage here, but another term in the financial institutions concept, we call it the credit crunch. Credit crunch meaning to say the demand is higher than the supply side. Okay, and then there will be the shortage in the market. And then what happened was that the financial institution trying to filter, like the gasoline example, try to filter the borrowers, and then they will choose the more effective borrowers in terms of providing loans. Okay, that's why we have observed that. I don't know if that is the theory, but we haven't seen in the statistic yet. I don't. I'm not quite sure whether the central bank has done the assessment on those kind of policy. But in the theory, if that has happened, the lender will filter for the effective borrower only. Okay, effective borrower here refers to the borrower who always or who often repay the loan on time. You have a very good history of payments. You have a good business plan. You have a good investment. Those kind of things I call effective borrower. Okay. So that's why we can observe the impact in the market. But at the same time, there's also the drawback, like in the gasoline market. The drawback in terms of the interest rate ceiling is the increase of the admin fees. You realize this? Actually,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, actually a little bit open the bracket. It is not about international trade, but I just wanted to understand a little bit about the financial system in financial perspectives in terms of setting the interest rate ceiling. In Cambodia, it happened by this way. After the credit grant happens, the admin fee, or you can call it processing fee, processing in order to get a loan has been increased. Because of what? Because of small microfinance or small microfinance or small operator, they might not have the economy of scale. So they may not have the economy of scale, so they need to increase their operational fee in order to be survived. So we observe that there are many. Let's say that the increase, also the increase in the increase in the operational fee or the fee charged, admin fee. Does it make sense? I don't know whether it makes sense to you all. You want me to share you with the Microsoft Word a little bit? Here the same thing, it's not reference, or maybe I can draw it here also the same, if possible, maybe. Yeah, let me draw it here for you. Similar thing, we have this here demand, we have the supply here. This is the interest rate equilibrium. This is the equilibrium of the loans above fund here, and then when the government central bank imported, it's become below here, okay, and then there will be the credit grant here, okay, here. There's the credit grant here. And what was happening here is that the admin fee gonna be increased, okay, for the small operators. Okay, yep. And that is obvious. Actually, this one is the it's not about the how can I say that? It is not about the theory that I can understand about the increasing in the admin fee or the operational fee. I have noticed from some of the person who are working in this industry, and then we had a chit chat on those kind of policy, and then they just disclose those kind of things to me, and then I feel, wow, it happens. Yeah, so that is the case in terms of the interest rate ceiling.
Teacher, I have a question.
Yes, yes, please.
So when the central bank set the price ceiling below equilibrium, does the money supply increase too?
The money supplied.
Yes.
You mean the money supply in the economy?
Yes, yes.
We cannot say that that is the increase of the money supply in the economy, but I believe that it would be the decrease in the money supply, and because you are trying to cut down the loans, right? Meaning to say that the loan disbursement are trying to cut down, meaning they are reducing the cut down of the loan disbursements. I mean, paying the loan out to the customer. So the money available in the or money circulating in the economy would be lower, right? So that should be the money supply going to be decreased. I don't think that would be increased, right? You get that sense?
Hello, lecturer.
Yes, yes, yes.
Can you actually clarify the aim of this policy?
The aims, as far as I know, because I haven't joined the policy initiation that, but as far as I know, in the past there's many empirical studies saying that microfinance is the poverty trap for the poor people living in the rural area. You remember, you know that? Why there is a poverty trap? Because the farmer or the people who are living in the remote area, they borrow the money from the microfinance, or yeah, might be microfinance, or you can call it small operators that is under the banking licensed small operators in the provinces. And then you just do your investment in order to fit the microfinance only. And sometimes if there's something happened badly in terms of your investments, you're gonna be in the trap. You're gonna be in the debt positions, and then you need to sell your lands. You need to sell your collateral in order to pay back the loans. You see that? In the past, there was around 25 to 30% per annum. I mean per years in terms of the interest rates, so they're quite large. That's why central bank observe those kind of things. And if you ask me further why that is the microfinance could be widespread to every area in across the country, I would blame personally, I would blame to the policy that is called the financial inclusions that is implementation not properly. You understand what financial inclusion? Sorry.
Not quite sure. Like,
Financial inclusions refers to a kind of situations that everyone can access to finance. Everyone here will refer to anybody living in a country can access to the finance. That's why there are many the promotions, there are many some encouragements for the microfinance and operator to allow the people who are living in the rural area to access to the finance, because they might realize that when people access to the finance, and then they could invest more, and then it can be having a crowding out effects, meaning, or you can call it the multipliers effect, can increase their living standard. That obviously true. I cannot deny that. That obviously true, and also empirical proved. However, we need to implement it very carefully, very cautious. That's why the central bank decided to set the interest rate ceiling. That is what I have known so far. Is that clear now for the objective of doing those kind of things?
so basically, the central bank set the interest rate ceiling in order to make sure that those microfinance does not raise any interest rate that actually exceed the affordability of these people who live in rural area. Is that like that?
To me, I don't think that is the objective. This is the policy already imposed. You have to do that. It is not the objective. The objective of the policy is to minimize the impact. Okay, minimize the impact of charging the higher interest rate. The high interest rate, I would not say higher. The high interest rate, yep, which could impact the living standard of the people are living in the rural area. Okay. Yep. Because you could not charge higher than this. This is already obvious. It is the legal binding already. So this is not the objective. The objective is to minimize the vulnerability of the poor people who could fast when they access to finance. Okay.
Yes, like, thank
But
you.
like I discussed to you earlier, there's still some drawback in that policy, because, okay, I could charge only 18% of my interest per year. So what should I do if I am a very small microfinance, or if I'm a very small operator? I do not have the economy of scale like a big bank, like the very big microfinance, so I'm going to be died. So in order to maintain the profit margin, what they did was increasing their processing fee or admin fee. There are many it means that they make things more complicated in order to charge higher fee. Okay, that is from the practice perspectives. Yeah, is that clear?
Yes, it's clear. Like,
Very good, Dennis. Very good, Dennis. Okay, sorry, someone just entered my room, so it's okay, then we can continue. Yep. So that is the effect of the ceiling price on the bread that I discussed to you all mostly already. So the short take of bread as the consumer wants to buy more. Okay, consumer wants to buy more at a lower price. At a lower price, while the producer will produce less. Okay, obviously there is a short text. At a given price, producer will try to maintain profit by reducing the size of its loft. See that? That is to maintain the profit margin like I discussed to you earlier, the same things. At a lower price, producer will use the cheaper ingredients. The producer will use the cheaper ingredient, thus lowering the quality of available bread. So these are the impact already. And the opportunity cost of finding bread will rise long lines to get the bread when shipping arrive. See that? So black market developed leading to the breaking of the law. That is obvious already. In order, this one is also interesting thing to look at. If you really like the empirical study, you may look at to the black market develop because of the effect of the ceiling price. Like I discussed to you last week, we discussed about the gasoline market, and then I say the social discrimination happened that appears in the U.S. And there's also some the bureaucracy, call it bureaucracy, the bribed. You know the word bribed. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know the word bribed.
Yes,
B
sir. Bribe.
I
Bribe.
B R I B E.
BE, sir. Yeah, bribe. I know, sir.
The bribe here refers to the money that you are paying in order to faster your processing. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yes, lecturer.
Sorry, I could not hear you. Hello.
Yes, lecturer.
Very good
Yeah.
things. The bribe here is happens. It happened because they want to have the product in order to use, so they just paid it in order to get the products. And if you would like to look at the effect in detail, you may look at the empirical study. I think, as I remember correctly, there was a development fields empirical study in the India, yeah, in India, and it was the bribe in order to process the public services. For example, if you would like to do some a national identity card, for example, if you don't pay any bribe, you may stay. The process is very hard for you to achieve your destination. So you need to pay some money in order to faster those kind of things. But that is just only the empirical study that proved that the black market could be happening in terms of this issue. Okay. And that is the price control, the rent control, the below market range. Yeah, and create the persistent short take, like I discussed to you, and contribute to the dangerous living conditions. That's obviously true. The quality of the houses, or the quality of the studios, or the quality of the yeah, I can call studios, yes, or the small rooms might be lower because the price already controlled, and then gonna be the sanitations, the hygienes might be in the lower qualities if you compare to the equilibrium options. Okay, so that is the effect. So yeah, I hope that you don't confuse. Okay, I hope that I don't confuse you. Price control here. We also have the good point and we also have the bad point. Okay, we also have the benefit and also the drawback. So if the government realize that the benefit is higher than the drawback, I believe the government would do that. Okay. So don't look at the price control in the very pessimistic way. Okay. Like I draw the graph for you last time, we need to analyze whether the impact is higher. I mean, the positive impact is higher or the negative impact is higher. And normally the positive impact is higher. So, okay, that's why the government decided to do the control. Okay. You know what? Sometimes it was to me. Sometimes it is so funny, but it's not so funny. It is for the foundation, you can call it. When the government impose those kind of things already, those impose the price control already, the government also needs to be ready in order to introduce another policy in order to minimize the negative impact in terms of their policy. Okay, yep, that's the test. Okay, yep. So that's the price control I discussed to you. There's a shortage here, impact of the rent ceiling set below the price equilibrium, otherwise it could not be binding. Either persistent shortage. Okay, that is the demand, that is the supply. And that is, you have seen here. Can you guess where it is?
India, lecturer.
India, okay, maybe, yep. Sorry, give me a few minutes. Someone is calling me. Okay, I continue maybe around 2 or 3 minutes. Let me pick up my phone call a little bit. Okay. Sorry. Please. Hello.
Yes, lecturer.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Just give me a few minutes. I need to answer some phone call.
Yes, sir.
Okay, hello.
Yes, like
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, teacher, we
Yes,
can
yes,
hear you,
sir.
teacher.
Very good then. So we continue then. This one in India, you're right. See that when the government imposed the rent control, that something happened like this. I don't know. Is it a good idea to set the the rent control or not? Like I discussed to you, we cannot say in general. We need to look at into the very specific conditions or into the very specific country in order to understand those kind of structure first. Okay. And that's why we have the empirical study, we have the theory, but it doesn't mean that theory is applicable for every context. So we finished with the price ceiling. So now we move to the price floor. And that is the meaning. Price floor, this is one example of the price floor. It is the contrast in the price ceiling here, okay? That is the meaning of price ceiling. That is the, that is the legal binding here, see that? And the meaning of the price floor is this one, the legal maximums of the price of goods and services. So this one is the minimum one, not the maximum one. That's why you have seen the minimum wage as the example of this context. The lowest hourly wage rate that firm may legally pay their worker, usually about the market equilibrium wage. That is also contrast to the price ceiling, meaning to say that in order to make this policy binding, you need to set it about the price about the price equilibrium, okay, in order to make it binding. That's what I can say in this here. And the impact here, you also can notice here. The impact here is the surplus of the load, the surplus of the low skilled worker. Yep. And normally that is also another story happened too. You want to listen to that story?
Yes, sure.
Yes, sir.
Very good things. Actually, when we set the price ceiling, price floor here, there might be the obvious about the low skills, low skill worker gonna be having more impact in terms of this policy. Here, if you look at the minimum wage, that is the labor market, okay? The labor market, the vertical line here is the wage rate, okay? It's hardly for me to write wage rate. And this one is the numbers of labor, okay? There's labor market for that sense. And that is the supply of labor, and that is the wage equilibrium. Okay. and that is the numbers of labor that could exist in this market. And if you set the price, this is just the emphasize for you. If you set the price below here, if you set the price below the equilibrium, there will be nothing happen in that policy. Why? Because the people can charge it higher than this equilibrium price, and then they will move to, sorry, higher than the price floor, and then they will move to the equilibrium price again. That's why we need to charge it higher this here. And then what happened here is that when we set the price equilibrium, sorry, when we set the price floor here, how can you notice here what happened in this market? In the price ceiling, we notice the short text. How about in this context? You notice what? You notice the?
Is it surplus?
Yes, for sure. There will be surplus here because of the demand is lower than the supply. Meaning to say that if the price of hiring people hires, the people, the owner of the company or the owners of the firms, will decide to take the less. We decide to take the less labor. That's why we can see the surplus here. And suppose you were the manager or you were the company owner, what would you lay off? Because the rate is very high, what would you expect? Can you guess? Do you expect the people or the worker with the high what?
High skill labor.
High skill, yeah, or you can call it high productivity, okay? We just keep the high productivity labor, right? Because you pays a lot, so you pays a lot, so you would like to have those kind of things. High productivity. And then if you want to keep the high productivity, normally that is the skilled labor who has the high productivity. And then what happened? Here is the low skill worker will suffer more. The first impact, you observe the unemployment already because this one is the surplus. Supply here, unemployment, and unemployment here happens to whom? Unemployment here happens to the low skilled worker. You see that? And it's also happening in Cambodia. If you have, I think if you notice, it's also happening in Cambodia context. Many people are trying to raise the minimum wage, and then you need to also observe that there's a lot of garment worker has been laid off because of low productivity. If you don't improve your skills, it will be the nightmare for you if the government trying to raise the minimum wage. Okay, that's the story. Okay, and there was also another story in Cambodia context. It's very bad. When you realize that the natures of government worker, they just migrate to the city in order to find work. And then what happened was that they need to pay for the rent, they need to pay for the electricity, they need to pay for the water's accessibilities, they need to pay their daily food consumptions. And then at the same time, those kind of, I would call them as the greedy people, can observe that the minimum wage has been increased, and then they also increase the fee charge in them, like they increase the price of the rental, increase the price of the electricity accessibilities, increase the price of the food, those kind of things. And then at the end of the day, the real wage will not be increased. Sorry, yeah, the real wage is not increased because of those kind of things. And then we cannot blame to those kind of people because you already learn in the you already learn in the you already learn in the principle of economic rights. People respond to incentive that are obvious. If you earn more, people want to take it more, and then the thing become worse and worse. Okay. So that is the story that I can share to you right now, and then it happened also in Cambodia contact. We need to have the other policy in order to minimize those kind of impacts. That's why when the government introduced the minimum wage, the new minimum wage, there also the other policy needs to follow. For example, like the specializations training for those kind of people for free. You need to improve your skill in order to equivalent with your wage, something like that. Okay. Or there might be also the new policy in terms of attracting more investments. Equal investment will generate the job for the people, so there's also needs to have more investment policy in order to observe the low skilled worker in the labor market. So this is the effect, okay, a surplus of low skilled worker who continue to hold job have higher income. That is the positive effect. Will not affect the unemployment rate for skilled worker and then raise the cost of hiring worker for firms, leading to lower quality of worker demanded. Okay. So far so good.
Teacher, I have a question.
Yeah, that is the thing that I discussed to you. The surplus is the unemployment. See that the unemployment and unemployment here falls to the low skilled worker because they could not have a better because they are facing the layoff challenges. Yeah. And if the government imposed the minimum wage below the price equilibrium, there will be no impact. Okay, and the government normally does not do that. So that is the effect of the minimum wage, like I discussed to you. Empirical evidence suggests that the effect of the minimum wage is quite small. So a 10% increase in minimum wage would reduce employment of teenagers between 1 to 3%. Because normally the teenager here, they are clustered or they are classified into the low skill worker, okay? So 1 to 3%. It might use the teenager to drop out of schools, also the same. Yeah. Okay. This is another impact that we need to observe. If I can see that that is, how can I call this? That it refer to a concept of the current consumption or the futures or saving for the futures consumption. I forgot that theory. Yep. Meaning to say that if you realize that you need to spend for a year at a university and then you realize the market rate for your wage is that this amount, and that if you drop out school and that you can have the minimum wage very high, and then there will be the tendency for you to drop out the school, right? Yeah, that is the case. And if I link this to the real practice, you also can look at to the another concept that is the same thing here, that the incentive for them to do nothing, like the unemployment insurance. This one also the policy that encourage people to not going to work. That is in the past, but now the unemployment insurance has been changed a lot, meaning to say that it has been structured in the new way or in the more effective way. In the past, they don't put any constraint for you. If you don't have a job, they just would like to give you some amount of money in order to be survived in their society. And normally it happens in the developed country like in Germany, French, Belgium, Italy, for example, or United Kingdoms. If you don't have job, people will just pay you at a certain amount of time. People here are referred to the government, okay, to be survived. And then it's encouraged, you know what? Even though I tried to work hard and then I get a minimum wage quite similar to the one who do not do any work, and then they are in the incentive for them to not going to work, right? Am I right? I don't know whether you believe this. Does it make sense to you all? Is it makes, I don't know.
Yes, lecturer. Yes.
Yes, actually, it's already happened in the in some part of the Western Europe, and then people are trying to restructure this. The government restructured this by putting some more constraint for them. For example, okay, I will pay you 100% as the unemployment insurance for the first 3 months. If the first 3 months finished and then you still not manage to find a job, I will cut down your employment insurance up to 70%, for example. Okay, and then another 3 months up to 50%. The cut the cut down of the unemployment rate here, unemployment insurance here, in order to force them to go back to work. Okay, yeah, that is already happened. As I remember correctly, if you were working in France or in Belgium, you may pay the salary tax more than 30% in the past. Yes, but right now it's still around 30% or 25 to 30% the same. Yep, it's very big amount of money, and then they just support the one who doesn't, the one who do not have jobs, and then it's quite a lot. Okay, and there was the social, that is again social divisions, I would say by that way, especially in Belgian society. They are trying to divide some people who do not work. You know this story? I don't know. Just open a blanket for the employment a little bit. In Belgium, there are two. That is what I have heard from one of my friends too. In Belgium, there were two part of the. I can call it there two part of the country. The first one is called a Flemish society. I don't know whether anyone in this class know this. Hello. Okay. Hello.
Hello, lecturer.
Okay. Actually, there are two part of the two part of groups in the Belgian country. One that is called Flemish Society, and another one they call it Wallonie Society. Wallonie Society, they are speaking French. They are close to French borders, while the Flemish Society, they are close to Netherlands country. They border with Netherlands, and then they speak Flemish. What I want to emphasize here, the Flemish society working a lot and then earn a lot of money. Earn a lot of money, I mean they have a lot of income to the federal, Belgian federals, while the Wallonie sides, they just enjoying their life style, very something like that. And then you know what? At the Senate, there was the controversy between the Flemish society and also the Wallonie society. The Flemish society said that I worked so hard in order to fit the guy who are just staying home and then get my insurance. I mean the unemployment insurance. They just enjoy the way they are living. They do not work hard as the Islamic society. That's why the society has been divided into two group of people. But this one is just open the bracket for you. There is the impact of the setting the minimum wage, and then people are people are a little bit hard to do that, right? Meaning not willing to do anything, just stay home. That's the impact of the minimum wage, okay? And then we move to another slide. That is the unintentional consequences. And that's it. That is the price control. So we end our story here. We discuss a lot with the price control, and that is also can be happen with the quality control in the society also. Up to here, any questions from your side?
Teacher, I have a question.
Hello.
Could you hear me?
Okay, okay, yes.
So, for example, suppose that government set the price floor about price for above. So like investors started to pull out or causing massive layout, something like that. And government, they introduce like a vocational program, something like that. So the letter that I'm mentioning is that constituted as the government spending when the government trying to gather those people who were let out into the vocational training institutions.
Okay, yes, very good question, Dennis. So what I can emphasize for you here, you need to look at to the cost and benefit analysis here again, okay? What I want you to look at here, okay? Let me draw it for you. You see here, that is the minimum wage, right? It has been set about the equilibrium point. So there will be this amount people gonna be employed, right? And then this one gonna be the total wage of the society. Sorry, why not? This triangle, not triangle, rectangular here is the total wage that people receive in the society, correct? You follow me in this sense?
Yeah, sure.
Very good, thanks. And then there was also the drawback in this concept. We need to look at to the consumer surplus and producer surplus again in order to analyze this. Before we have this here, this triangle as the consumer surplus, right? Here, and this triangle as the producer surplus here. Yeah. And then at the end of the day, we have the total here, total social welfare, this amount, this triangle. And then if you impose this, there will be the losses here. Let me draw it in another graph for you. Maybe I can draw it like here. Just let me draw it another graph for you, quite similar, because this one should be, if you draw it, if you extend the linear equation, it's come to here, right? It needs to have the y-intercept and also the yeah, it's also this one intercept, yeah, the y-intercept in this and this one. Let me share you another screen first. Give me a second. The whiteboard is hardly for you to see. I think I can draw it in the Microsoft Word. Can I just draw it? Okay, here we go. I have the drawing here. Yeah. So what I can tell you right now is here. I suppose that from here, I start from here until here, okay? That is the demand for labor. This is the supply for labor. This is the equilibrium. Okay, at the initial stage, here, this the double here, double drawing here is the call it social welfare, right? Am I right? And the above here is the consumer surplus above here, and below here the producer surplus. Okay. So when the government imposed that, impose the minimum wage as quoted in this area. So, and here also you can observe that the people will here, right? Okay, I need to try another one. Here, the blue here is the total wage that people receive, right? Right?
Yeah, sure.
Because this one is the wage equilibrium and this is the quantity that you demand and supply. So this one is the total wage that the society received. So when you introduce this, what happened is that you just have only this amount, right? Here. Just only this amount. right? And then your total weight here is going to be here. Total weight here is going to be this rectangular here. Okay. And then we need to calculate this, whether this the previous rectangular and the new one, which one is bigger. And for those here, for those who still in the market, will still get a benefit of raising the minimum wage, because at the beginning they just receive only this, but now they plus with this amount, right? So the one who stay in the labor market will benefit in this policy, but the one who already lay out or who already finished their work will become unemployed here. Of course, if that is the introducing the training, a special training or vocational training for them in order to build their capacity or their skill. Of course, that is the government spending, but the government also can receive this amount of money, right? Why I can say receive this amount of money? Because this guy also got a benefit here, so there might be something gonna pay out to these ones. That's why we can come up the conclusion by saying that one policy cannot fit all. You need to think the consequences after you introduce that policy, and you also need to understand how to mitigate the consequences that happen because of those policy. Okay. That's why I'm trying to tell you that there might be something about the new investment, new foreign investment comes to here in order to absorb this labor into the new industry or the new work or the new factory, right? And how can we understand that? How can we engage with the foreign investment? How we attract this? There's still another policy in order to have this tool. See that? So there are many systematic link here. Is that all right?
Yes, yes. So in that case, GDP is not changing, right?
GDP is not changing. We hardly to link about GDP here, because the GDP, there are several components in terms of GDP, right? There's two ways in order to calculate, or maybe you can define GDP by two ways. The first one, you need to define it as the total expenditures in the society who produce final goods and services, or you can define it as the total income of the society who earn from the selling factors of productions. You asked me whether it impact to GDP or not. We need to figure out further. I cannot say exactly whether it's impact or not, or it keeps GDP the same, because we need to look at the statistic, or we need to look at the number. But if this impact is higher, if this impact is higher than the you impact from here, you receive from here, okay? There might be some lower downs. Okay, yeah, there might be some lower downs. This because this one is the lost, this one is the gains, and this one is the area here is the unemployment here. So there might be some part of calculation here whether this one and this one, which one is bigger. If this one is bigger and then the policy up here cannot maintain this, there might be something gonna be worse in terms of minimum wage here. Okay, but if the some policy here can have with this guy here, okay, and then you also receive with this amount of the gain for the society, so it will be better for the society as a whole. Okay.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
I cannot say that if you look at to the short-term impacts, there might be something like you observe if this one is higher, but in the long-term impact, I don't think that is the loss for the society, because you have built your skill, you have a filter, a better skill here, a better people here, and then they will have more specializations, and then there will be the long-term effect in terms of those productivity increase, okay, and then economic growth could be also realized when the productivity increased, productivity of each employee increased, so that is why, okay. So in long term, it's good for the society, and also when you raise the minimum wage, the competition in terms of labor market also arrest unintentionally, I would say that's that way. Because in order to stay here, you need to increase your capacity, right? Your skill. So more or less, you need to force yourself to study more. You need to force yourself to learn more, right? To upgrade your skill. Otherwise, you will be in the bad situation. Okay.
Yeah, teacher.
Okay. So far so good. David. Yeah.
Yes, sir. It's so clear.
Very good. Thanks. How about Kim Ho? Is that so far so good?
Yes, lecturer, so far so good.
Very good. Thanks. How about the rest? Everything all right? Abhishek?
Yes, sir. Everything is
Very
good.
good. Thanks. Very good. Thanks. Class monitor, Dali, yes. Is it your names? Sorry. Dali?
Yes.
Okay. What's your name? Dalia or Dali? Let me check.
It's Delia.
Daily, Delia. Okay. Okay. Everything all right?
Yes, like.
Very good. Thanks. I don't know whether I have already dropped the slide presentation in the Microsoft team already or not yet. Have I dropped it? Have I dropped them for you already in Microsoft Teams?
You haven't, sir.
Oh, okay, okay. I'll find the time, drop the slide presentation for you, okay? So, yes, you can have a small break, and then when we resume our class, I will continue with the consumer surplus and producer surplus, okay? We need 2 weeks in order to finish our reviews before we move to the introductions to the international trade, okay? Don't worry, we will be on time. I can say it this way, okay? Because the other, just build your understanding first, and then for the international trade, and then you can analyze the policy or the theory better when you understand the foundation already, okay? So don't worry about that. For the second session, our menu is going to look at the consumer surplus and producer surplus. Okay, yeah. Okay, if you don't have any concern, maybe we can have a small break. We can resume our class by 7:30 as normal. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, lecturer.
Okay, very good then. So have a good break then. Have a good break.